Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kostuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kostuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Thursday's study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm your host, Raghunath, and here with co-host Kostuba Das, who's in New York City, and Mara spinning the dials. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was taking my midnight CBD oil last night, and my son goes,
Midnight?
my midnight, I mean, my bedtime, and my son wasn't feeling well. So he goes, can I have some of that? What are you eating? He goes, that's not my mom's nut stuff, is it? I go, no, they've changed their name to Samadhi Drops. Samadhi. He goes, oh, that's good, because that name just didn't work before, my mom's nuts. He's like, I didn't know if his mom was nuts or his mom was a guy or what. I was like, yes, it's Samadhi CBD. There's my shout out for Samadhi CBD oil, helping me sleep. How are you, Kostuba?
Doing good.
You got a link you want to share with people? You were interviewed by the Mayapur family?
Oh, that'll be published later today. There's this really nice family. They have this YouTube channel called I Love Mayapur.
Okay.
And it's really just like they're from Germany, but they live in Mayapur, and they do like lots of videos about Mayapur, simple stuff, but it's people really like it. Like some of their videos get like millions of views. So anyway, they interviewed me, but that'll be published later today. I Love Mayapur.
That's cool. What do they talk about? The podcast or just you?
They talked. It was about the podcast. It was maybe an hour or 45 minutes or something like that. But it was, we definitely talked about the podcast, but we also talked about just Mayapur, because that's their main theme. So, just what I think of Mayapur, my experience there and all that.
Sort of cool. A family just saying, you know what? I'm over this. I'm going to Mayapur.
Yeah.
I could see that it's an adventure.
They have a lot of their stuff is simple, like just like, hey, where to eat in Mayapur, like let's go to the different restaurants here, or they do all kind of things, but I think we should have them on for Walk on Wednesday. Maybe we could do that next week.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Mara, arrange that, can you?
Oh, get right on it.
That's noted a tone of sarcasm.
No.
And next week, not this Sunday, but following Sunday, we have Shubha Vilas, who's an incredible, prolific author. And he's going to come on, not this Sunday, but next Sunday.
And following next week, Sunday.
Yeah. And then when are we getting our 1,000th episode, Mara?
That's, if we don't miss any day, I think it's Thursday, right? Is that right?
What?
Yeah.
Like a week from today.
It's unbelievable.
If we don't miss a day.
We really got to figure out what happens when we finish the Bhagavatam.
Oh,
Is this whole party
so many more
end?
insights to start over again.
Yeah, just started right up over again.
So,
yeah. Announcements today?
Mary, you got some announcements?
I do. We have a Bhakti Recovery Group meeting today at noon, and an asana class with Josh Kane tomorrow morning for our Patreon members at 10:30 a.m.
And we have our Wisdom of the Sages retreat here. It's almost it's pretty much filling. There's like maybe 20% left.
Okay.
Write to Mayor at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com or check out our email. Check out our website, wisdomofthesages.com/events. Actually, don't write to the regular email. There isn't a wisdom. There is an email on that web page. So go to that. Also, Italy, June 27th to July 4th. That is filling up too. We have a very good group for that. And it's going to be our 3rd annual pilgrimage to Holy Italy. And we hear and we chant and we sing and we eat good food and we have really great company. And it's summertime in Italy. It's wonderful. Also at the farm this year, 200-hour Bhakti Vinyas yoga training with me and Cindy and Bobby. That's going to be great. You can go to my website for that, raghunath.yoga. That's July 13th through the 28th. Come live at the farm, wrestle sheep. It's fun. All right, Kastuba, you want to dive into this? You want to dive into our nugget today?
Yeah, let's hear it. Who you got? You got to come prepared. This is.
I get a lot of text messages at like 5 a.m. Okay. I love your.
What?
That was not you. I'm reading somebody else's. Okay. Some people regard discipline.
Hold on. Who's this coming from? You are out. Raghunath, you need to snap into it today. Come on, let's get serious here.
Okay. This is from my favorite, my sort of secret love. Maybe yours.
Okay.
This is my crush I've had on since childhood. Julie Andrews.
Yeah, Julie Andrews.
Julie Andrews. I love her. Some people regard discipline as a chore. Mm-hmm. For me, it is a kind of order that sets me free to fly.
And how she flew, Raghunath.
And how she flew, huh? God, I think I was with you. We were flying to India, and I was watching The Sound of Music on the plane.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you remember this, but I was like crying on the plane. Why is he marrying her? He should be marrying the governess. And the thing is, Americans are obsessed with this musical. Europeans never even seen it. Most Europeans have never seen this.
I have a feeling we're about to meet on the chat board. We're about to immediately get Europeans mentioning that they've seen it before.
They're lying.
But what about the nugget itself? The
nugget itself is incredible. It is like it was similar to what I was saying yesterday. How, especially if you have some wisdom, have some knowledge, have some training, have had some discipline in the past, and you drift, then you will get haunting sort of like aphorisms in your head, like a 12-step. If you're a 12-step person, if you are driving without any margin on the edge of a cliff, you will get shouting in your ears, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? What are you thinking? That stuff. So discipline is, you either pay now or you pay later. And there's compound interest when you pay later, right? Just look at it with health. If you don't like to take basic care of your body, all of a sudden you get to 40, you're in your 20s, everything's good. You seem healthy. You can eat anything. You neglect. Health is for fools. What are these? I don't want to be some dumb jock. And then all of a sudden you're 40 and you got some very serious problems at 40. So we either pay now or or this becomes compound interest and these things explode on us at a young age.
Compound interest is an interesting term, right? And again, I think it was this past weekend where I was during our Q&A where I was saying I really don't know anything about the financial matters, but I suppose compound interest means like there's a normal interest rate, and then you can invest in a certain way where there's compound interest, where you get
where you just keep it rolling in, and it just that starts to multiply.
You sound like you don't know what it means either.
Don't hire me as your financial planner.
But it's compounded, right? So and that's the thing, like particularly when it's talking about discipline of the mind, right? Like in other words, what she's talking about, Julie Andrews is talking about. She's saying, okay, there's discipline sets her free to fly, and I don't know where this quote came from or in exactly the context that she's using it. I assume it probably had something to do with her discipline as a performer, like in terms of singing, in terms of dance and acting, that, there's, in order to do your craft well, it requires discipline, which seems like it's locking you down. But actually it's setting her free, to perform.
Sure.
But you know what, like, especially when it comes to yoga, yoga is all about self-discipline. It's all, and particularly in terms of the mind, right? And recognizing that you said you used the term compounded interest, which to me, it is a useful metaphor, because within the mind, another one is like algorithms, right? Which have that, they compound, right? Like you start to click on certain things, and the computer, like the search engine algorithms, or the
Not
algorithms,
much
which
of an IT guy, by the way, either. Not only am I not a finance guy, I'm not an IT.
I'm not either.
I'm not really good at much.
Except botany, permaculture.
What's my other one? And
Mystic.
And
mysticism.
mysticism. Yeah. But from the little bit of study that I've done, and even from just practical experience, we can see how algorithms work, right? You click on something once or twice, and you start to get, your YouTube channel is going to start to pull up that more and more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and starts hurting you a certain direction.
It starts hurting, and so it's going to keep sending you more and more that way, and it's going to compound unless you fight a battle to bring it back in another direction. Unless you start clicking on other stuff, it's going to keep moving more and more and more in that direction. And so the yogis recognize that the mind is like that, right? That the thoughts that we engage with, the mind is going to become prone to go back there and back there again and again, unless you consciously begin to direct it in another way, or unless something comes and directs it another way. But unless you choose to direct it, you become kind of a slave, or you kind of become controlled by outer influences, rather than saying, I'm going to control this mind. Where my mind goes is so important in terms of my destiny. So the yogis are saying, like, we want to grab a hold and direct our own destiny, and that means that we have to take up yoga. And yoga means I'm going to take up certain disciplines within the mind, and that may involve asana, that may involve pranayama, that may involve meditation, that may involve sadhana, ritual, that may involve even, like, social aspects, who I spend my time with, how I relate to people, etiquette, culture. All of these things, add up to how we direct our mind. Now, we're reading now about, in Bhagavatam, about this Bharat Maharaj, this King Bharat, who he was engaged in yoga like his whole life, right? His whole, even as a king, he understood how those responsibilities can be performed as part of a path of yoga, as part of a way of disciplining his own mind. And then he went out and he got even deeper into it when he went out into the forest and was living all alone. But he at a certain point, that self-discipline he let it slip. And quickly, like, and it seems like, Bhagavatam often uses extreme cases,
Sure.
but it seems like very quickly he lost control of his mind. It took over, and we're hearing him now, these algorithms that are playing out of his mind. He's just like, he's appearing almost just like foolish and like totally controlled by a certain type of sentiment that's like kind of got him off. But we got to fight that battle. The yogis recognize we got to fight that
sometimes
battle.
I use that analogy of guardrails. We compare the yamas and the niyamas, the disciplines of the yoga system, to particular guardrails. And sometimes, and no one complains about guardrails when you're driving the highway. You're not complaining. You sometimes complain if there are no guardrails. So these disciplines that we have, these do's, do this, don't do that, those disciplines are really just for our own safety. And, sometimes I know, you're driving across the George Washington Bridge, and if ever driven, they have those high cement guardrails where you're like, if I even sneeze, I'm going to destroy the side of my car.
When they're doing like construction on the bridge.
They're doing construction, and you're like, please don't swerve, don't swerve. And, but So there is a big fear of dinging your car, scraping your car. But at the same time, if you were to fall asleep at the wheel, snooze at the wheel, check over at your phone for a text message that just dinged, there is a chance that you could just, if that guardrail wasn't there,
You'll be glad
could
it's there.
slide right over to the other lane and go into like 300 oncoming cars. So guardrails are there to give us a little pinch to protect us from like the greatest disaster ever. And that's why and the guardrails in Vedic culture are very high. And sometimes we hear about them. They're very extreme. Oh, come on, a monk. You have to be a celibate monk, or come on, you have to do this, or you don't eat that. You're vegetarian, and you're not even eating onions and garlic. What? And then when you do that, you can't. You have to offer all your food. What? And then when you do that, it's like you can't. Even my doctor says I can have 2 glasses of wine. What's the big deal? And it's just like one after another after another. Any ethical Englishman who came over to India probably couldn't understand, like, these guys has a much higher standard of principles of how to live, even though they tried to paint the Indians out as sort of like low class, barbaric, etc. The fact was their level of the personal ethics and discipline was incredibly high. And even now it almost seems like, oh, come on, that makes no sense. That makes no sense.
Well,
makes tons of sense.
In one sense, this yoga culture is so broad. There's so many different. What happens is this: you have this very broad body of literature with a broad body of commentary, and then you have teachers that step forward and they draw from that literature, and they kind of can kind of present it almost like they can kind of curate it in a particular way, and say, let's take these aspects of discipline, these meditations, these this system of ethics, this system of etiquette, and all that. They design a path in this way, drawing from the same literature. Different teachers will create certain paths, and there's generally going to be a lot of overlap in the practices and so on. But just on one path, this is more, like renunciation is more important, walking away from everything. And, on another path, it has more to do with, it's all about the ritual, and getting deep into the ritual. On another path, it's a certain type of meditation that's important, but they find, but in any case, all of these different, if it's a yoga path, it's about trying to gain ground in that battle of the mental algorithms, trying not to give up ground, and this is what I feel like as a 57-year-old, yoga practitioner, had been into it for about 35 years, is I want, especially as I'm getting older now, I want to gain ground and not give up anymore. Just like in a battle, you want to gain ground, and then you don't want to give it up. And you want to, what's the point in taking one step if you're losing the ground
Yep.
that you had, so you want to keep gaining more and more ground. And for me, in a lot of ways, that means it is mental discipline. It is, I want to lose taste for the things that are distractions. And I want to rise in me like a natural inclination for, for that which is real and substantial and purifying and satisfying, and on the spiritual path. And so, but it's a battle, especially in our world where it's, there's the internet and there's the television and there's the phones and all this stuff that's just trying to distract you constantly.
Their job is to distract. How long can you stay on our page for? Krishna wants you on his page. How long can you stay on Krishna's page for? Right. How long can you scroll through Krishna? I want to scroll my mind through Krishna all day long.
And, it takes faith, because otherwise you feel like the battle's not worth it. Or maybe, I had this, yeah.
I don't think it's faith. I think it's taste more than faith. I think it's experience more than just.
Well, but what if you're not getting taste immediately?
Then, then you need a little faith. Like, I got to trust this, and it's maybe some remembrance, like, of what that taste was again. And I think everybody's here today because they have some type of taste.
Well, I had this experience the other day, and this is part of the reason why I just said that about faith, is because I had that kids group, right?
Doing the kids group.
This group of kids, 25, 11, and 12.
Wrestling match.
Why do you go wrestling? We're not wrestling. We're talking. So these
Stupid
kids are so
kid.
great, and we were going like, and they asked. I was so impressed with them, and so I was describing. We kind of started saying, that the yogis recognize that we're searching for happiness through external things, but whatever kind of pleasure we get out of anything external, they began to recognize that even the pleasurable things, they come with pain. So everything in this material world is like that. It's always up and down, up and down. But they also recognize that within that there's a happiness that's a true eternal happiness. That's the nature of the self, and yoga is meant to uncover that. And so then this little girl, like 11-year-old girl, she raises her hands and says, "Okay, but what if I lived my life like that with that idea? But then it turns out at the end of the life, I just had missed out on so many opportunities
Hmm.
for happiness. What if we might feel that way? The person that's the person might say, why should I discipline myself that way when I'm giving up so many different opportunities for happiness along the way? And the first thing I said to her was like, and this it was so good. I really love these kids because I said, now you're using the word happiness in terms of our contact with these external things, but why don't we use the word pleasure?
Hmm.
And as soon as I said this, she said, "Oh," you could just see like these lights going off in her head, like, yes, okay, I get what you mean. And then I took them on this whole kind of like roundabout discussion about how our mind becomes just like a computer gets programmed. I said, the mind is like a computer. If the mind is a computer, then what are the eyes? And they're like the camera. I said, okay, then what are the ears? They said, like the microphone. I
You're
said, well,
good.
and they were good because they were able to follow the whole thing as good as any adult group I've ever had. They were like right on it. And then I said, so our mind, is taking in information through the camera, through the microphone, and it's being programmed into the mind with different ideas about what will make us happy and what won't. And what the yogis were saying was the mind becomes programmed with this idea that these external things will find happiness through them. And we're following it as if it's real. And in that way, actually, we're becoming like a slave. And they were just like, oh my God. They were like so great. They were really getting into it. In any case, so that's, this is the idea of the yogis, is that within the mind, there's different applications in there, right? Like these, just like a computer has applications, which are just like programs, like software programs that are designed to perform a specific function.
Yeah.
And the yogis, we were never taught this stuff when we were kids, but it's just to think about it is such a valuable idea to engage with, whether you accept it's true or not, right? But like
It just wasn't the conversation.
it wasn't
You know
at
what I
all
mean?
the
You didn't take your
conversation.
kids, you didn't take a high school or a preschool or a elementary school field trip to a yoga center.
Well,
You just didn't. I
and
didn't.
no,
I went to a post office. I thought that was really cool.
you went to post office.
I went to the post office.
This
Yeah.
is great.
It was great.
But my point is, we don't have to indoctrinate kids, but we have to give them, help them learn how to think and provide for them like different worldviews and let them engage with them, right? So
Yeah.
like let's bring them to an atheist and let them present their ideas, and so in any case, but this idea that within the mind there are different applications. If the mind is a computer, there's an application called the manas, right? Like the impulsive mind, which is programmed with automatic responses of I like this and I don't like that, without reasoning. Just like
Right.
instantly we see something, we think I'm attracted to it, and the mind could have been programmed to be attracted to something else, and just recognizing that that's how this part of my mind functions. But then there's another part of the mind called the buddhi, which the yogis were very concerned with, right?
The discernment.
Yeah, the faculty for discernment, the faculty for reasoning, which functions through reflection, and it can influence those triggered impulses of the manas. It's drawing from stored information, it's weighing what the advantages and the disadvantages are,
Yeah.
and it's ready to, if it's strong enough, if we hone it in a particular way and engage it in a particular way, we can discipline ourselves, we can discipline our mind. And as Julie Andrews is saying, in the
So
beginning,
funny we're quoting Julie Andrews. But
in the beginning,
as Julie Andrews is
well,
saying,
we had our Julie Andrews moment
I'd
when
love
the
to get
Go
her
first
on the
came out,
show.
right?
She's still alive.
She is. I think she's like 97 or something like that. She's
Oh, you're
she's old.
kidding.
Yeah. I think she's considered like one of the last actresses
Saints.
from, the golden age of Hollywood, they say, right?
Oh, really?
But like she was saying, you feel free. It actually, that self-discipline will grant us freedom. And that's where it may take faith, because in the beginning it may be like I'm restricting myself. And what does Bhagavad Gita say about the sattva guna, about the illuminating energy that
Yeah.
in the beginning
Yeah. Yeah. It's like poison.
tastes like poison in the beginning.
Tastes like poison in the beginning, and
but it's
nectar.
nectar in the
Nectar
end.
in the end.
So
I was thinking of,
that's what disciplinarians understand, people that discipline themselves.
and I think it's safe to say we've all had some type of feeling of discipline, whether it's like, I'm going to regiment my diet, I'm going to do intermittent fasting, and it's poison at the first. I missed my breakfast, I'm losing my mind. Or something like jogging, like, I hate jogging. I am day 4. You're like, not bad jogging. Jiu-jitsu or martial arts or whatever we're doing with where some discipline is, it is like, it seems like this isn't me. Yoga. This isn't me. I'm not that guy. And all of a sudden there becomes a taste, and you start telling your friends, and your friends are like, what's up with you? Why are you so into this? And that taste we have to have. And we do it with diet. We do it with health. We do it with, music or any type of art you're trying to learn. But and that taste that you have, that your friends can't understand why you're so into this thing, that taste has to be there for Krishna. We have to get that taste for Krishna. And that's what kirtan does. That's what pilgrimage does. That's what the podcast might do, or hearing the Bhagavatam might do, or something. We get a taste for it. And then we're like, something's different about this. That taste, we have to learn how to have it every day. And even if you get it on and that's why we do things on a regular basis. So even if you're getting that taste, you should understand it's very, very normal that taste will go away. Why? Because then Krishna just goads you forward.
That's gain new ground, fight a new battle, right?
Yeah, fight a new battle. It's like, okay, you're running a mile every day. Let's take this up to 2 miles now. Stuff like that. Okay, you're refining your intermittent fasting. Now, when you are eating, what are you eating? Oh, all right. Okay, that's something to do. Like that.
I'm going through this thing now because, like,
what are you doing? What are you doing?
I got back from last year at this time.
You got a parasite?
What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Why would you be excited about that?
I thought you were on a cleanse or something.
No, not like that. But last year at this time, I had to write because I had to create like an 18-lesson course that I would read, a script that I would read straight into a camera. So basically I wrote 2/3 of a book. And I said, okay, when I get back from India this time, I'm going to write the last third.
Okay.
But to do that, it took that deadline to make me do it last year. It was like, okay, I got 1 month and I got to write 18 lessons. Every day I was like writing for like 5, 6, sometimes 7 hours in a day. It was a marathon. It was crazy.
Writing's also a type of discipline.
Totally.
You got to write when you don't want to write. I used to do that with lyrics.
Well, when I came back, I said, okay, I got to get my ass into the library, right? I just got to like be in that quiet place where there's nothing else to do. And I realized, Raghunath, when I do this, just how, just how much my ability to concentrate has been affected by social media and by the computer and all that, because it's hard for me to stay concentrated for an extended period of time.
Tell Mara, when I was in Goa and I had to finish my book, I was like, Mara, here's my iPhone. Do not give me this.
Yeah, that's right.
This doesn't go back in my hands.
You have to say that, right? But this is why I'm bringing this up, Raghunath, because what you just said about, in the beginning it's bitter, but it doesn't. We have to have the faith that it doesn't take long before you get in the groove.
Yeah.
You just have to go through that initial stage. And so last week, it was hard. It was very hard for me to like get into it. But I knew if I just stick with this, I'm going to hit it. I'm going to hit a point where it becomes easier. My mind doesn't want to do this, but I'm going to make it do it. I'm going to make it do it. And at a certain point, the mind's going to start to surrender, and you get into a groove. And like
Sure.
yesterday, I began to feel that, right? Like last week, it was tough. It was tough. It was tough. Yesterday, I started breaking through. And we had to feel that we can do that in terms of whatever our spiritual discipline is. Stick with it. You know, Rupa Goswami uses that incredible metaphor.
You
in
better not say what I think you're going to say, or it's going to be the Christian miracle of a century. Go ahead.
Well, it probably is. We've narrowed it down quite a bit now. But about the taste for chanting, is that what you were going to talk about?
No.
Okay. Well, I was going to say he uses this metaphor that like one of the most important practices that we have, and we regulate it and discipline ourselves as bhakti yogis, is to daily meditate. You know, by chanting the Maha Mantra, doing it a certain number of times, counting it on our beads. And a lot of times we sit down to do that and we have no taste for it, right? It's like there's no thrill in it, there's no satisfaction in it. But what he said was, it's that shows that we're in a disease condition, right? Like
Sure.
when that beautiful, perfect object of divine love, when we have no attraction for that, that means there's something wrong with us, not the
Right.
object.
There's nothing wrong with the mantra, people.
Yeah, there's something wrong with us. And he said, so he used the analogy of like when one has jaundice, which is I don't know, do people in America ever get jaundice?
Yeah, I don't think they get jumped. Let's change that analogy right now. Let's just Americafy it. Okay. How about if a person
but there's no medicine that works as well. I mean, if you know a medicine that, you know, the whole point is that the medicine.
Well, I think
let's use this one. If you got another one, we'll use it. But let's go with this one first, okay?
All right. Person's got jaundice, then anything they put in their mouth tastes like extremely bitter. They don't want to eat
sweet stuff.
Even sweet stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So like,
but they say the cure of jaundice is what's the medicine?
That rock candy, like the sugar candy, like rock candy, right?
Yeah. Only in India, sweets are like the cure. Yes, take a gulab jamun and we'll cure you.
so the person with jaundice is eating this rock candy, which is just basically like crystallized sugar. And when they're eating it at first, it tastes horribly bitter, but the doctor's saying keep eating it because this is actually the cure. And as you get better, it gets sweeter and sweeter and sweeter until you actually until you're cured and you realize how sweet it is. How sweet it truly is.
Don't start singing that song.
I was going to say, hold your tongue. We don't need the James Taylor thing right now. And so, and so similarly, he's saying when you chant Krishna's names, when you meditate on these names, in the beginning, they may not taste sweet. Keep chanting, and they'll get sweeter and sweeter and sweeter.
And find the thing in Krishna consciousness that you have a taste for. Maybe it's like me and Moses, Mara, we like to read the lyrics of the bhajans in the morning.
Okay.
To sort of like, and it gives us sort of a taste for worshiping Krishna, Radha and Krishna, and the Dham, Govardhan, Yamuna, and stuff like that. We'd just be reading them in English. Sometimes we sing them in the tongue that they were written in, the language that they were written in, and we sort of sometimes can miss something.
Yeah.
But when you start to read them in English, it gives a little bit more substance for my American mind. Another thing we got to realize is in the same way the holy name draws us in, and then other positive things about health and diet sort of call us in. Yeah, I got to change my body. Yeah, I got to change my, whatever. There's also very, very dark forces calling us in and luring us in. And if you don't get hooked in the groove of bhakti or in the groove of, exercise or yoga, etc., you could get hooked in the groove of internet porn. You could get hooked in the groove of, overeating, or hooked in the groove of, taking some, drinking a little bit at night, just a little bit to take the edge off at night. And those are all grooves too. And those grooves run deep. And those grooves we try not to mess with, because those grooves can dismantle all our life in the same way the discipline that Julie Andrews was talking about lets her fly. These ones will just dismantle all good things in your life. And we don't even go there.
And the opposite of what the Bhagavad Gita is saying is just the opposite with these types of things, that they're sweet in the beginning.
Yeah, this helps me forget.
And then they get poisonous in the end. I'm depressed. I'm weak.
This seems so exciting. My life is a little dull right now. I need a quick dump of dopamine. What can do it? What pictures can I look at? Who can I scroll at? I'm scrolling all over you, Kostuba.
we're consuming these things. They taste a little sweet at the beginning, and we can't stop consuming them even when they taste bitter, and we just get depressed. We lose our own even. We don't even feel good about ourselves anymore.
Yeah, there's very, very dark ones. And there's things just like shopping. People just get, oh, God, I'm bored. I need to shop.
Well, it's crazy now, right? Because if you feel that way, all you do is you go to Amazon and say, "Let me
You
find
click it.
something that I want to
It's
buy."
not even, you don't even have to fill out the form anymore. It's buy now. I like that one. It's for the real impulsive people. Buy now. Like it's gonna next thing, it's just gonna come right through your computer. Here it is.
Yeah.
The drones are just like banging on your window.
All right. So we're gonna see what happened. Poor Bart Maharaj is out there. He lost his self-discipline, and it cost him.
What does the Gita also say? Just one of the wandering senses.
Oh yeah.
Can take you up. Right. Just one. Everything. 4 senses are good, but one sense is like looking over there. One sense is like sniffing, right? Beware your sniffer, Mara.
Beware your sniffer, Mara. Get
Write
that one down. Yeah.
I'll wear that shirt. Beware your sniffer, Mara. Only those in the club will understand what it means.
Okay.
Mara's like, I don't even know what it means.
I don't know what I want to know. Hey, we got to get into Bhagavatam. It's getting late.
Narayanam namaskrityanam shaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tatojayam madirayat. Before he started the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Midatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Okay. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Miss Mara.
Canto 5, Chapter 8, Text 26.
Mara, Malibu, Mara. There was a song. Do you remember that?
Raghunath, we're almost getting into the verse now. Let's get into it.
Text 26?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Hit it.
All right. Sikadeva Goswami continued. So here's the narrator. My dear king, in this way, Bart Maharaj was overwhelmed by an uncontrollable desire. Manifest in the form of a deer. Oh, my dear, my dear. Due to the fruitive results of his past deeds, he fell down from mystic yoga.
He lost ground in the battle. Right?
Man, he couldn't use that word to describe himself. Bart Maharaj is a king of all of India. He's a mystic. Could no longer use that in his bio.
Ex-mystic, maybe?
Ex-mystic, ex-monk, ex-punk.
I was thinking, Raghunath, you're an X-ray.
Ooh, very good, very good, very good.
Right? You're what is it? Ex-punk, ex-monk.
I'm debating
X-ray.
whether to be Ray Capo or Raghunath or Raghunath parentheses Ray Capo or Ray.
You mean for
my
memoir?
book? Who am I? Anyway, I'm open to suggestions. Message board.
Okay. Due to the fruit of results.
Due to the if it were not due,
I don't get it. Due to go ahead, read that verse. Read that sentence again.
My dear king, in this way, Bart Maharaj was overwhelmed by an uncontrollable desire, which was manifest in the form of a deer, and due to the fruitive results of his past deeds, he fell down from the mystic yoga, austerity, and the worship of the personality of Godhead. If it were not due to his past fruitive activity, how could he have been attracted to the deer after giving up the association of his own family, considering them stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual life? How could he show such uncontrollable affection for a deer?
Notice some of the language here, right? Uncontrollable affection. Yeah. In other words, Julie Andrews was talking about how discipline set her free, right? Now here it says he lost touch with his mystic yoga, with his austerities, with his worship. These
Yeah.
are all the disciplines that he was engaged in. You know, they were steadily built into his daily routine, and they were setting him free. But now
It's
it's
just
yeah.
go on. Sorry.
I was gonna say it's using these words like here it says the way Prabhupada translated was he wrote overwhelmed by an uncontrollable desire. And if we look at the Sanskrit, it says the word for desires is manarata. It means the chariot of the mind. Mental. He was on a mental chariot, right? Like it was racing fast. It was spinning its wheels, you know. And then it says akula, aggrieved hridaya. Manarata akula hridaya. His heart was aggrieved because this desire was running like a chariot, and he couldn't stop it. You know, it was the mental disciplines, the practices that he had built into his life, the spiritual practices that he had built into his life. They were setting him free, and now he's kind of he let go of the reins, you know, and it's slipped away now, you know, and he's getting dragged now. He's getting dragged around. You were going to say?
I can't remember now.
Okay.
It was very important,
Yeah.
but I can't remember.
This was definitely due to his
This
past karma.
was definitely due. What verse are we on? Mara.
Same one.
We're still on 26.
We're still on 26. Okay.
Yeah, like halfway through.
Okay. This one's all right.
How could he show such uncontrollable affection?
You read it. Okay. How could he show such uncontrollable affection for a deer? This was definitely due to some past karma. Oh, I was going to say, ever be overly in love with a person? Like, you know, it's not even a healthy type of way. It's because it's not really love. It's some like deep attachment and infatuation. And perhaps everybody else is saying this is too much. But there's been times in my life where like, I'm too attached to this person. Like it's not, they have too much control over me. And they could do anything with me right now, like a dancing dog in the hands of its master. You know, you don't want to go there. So this is overly affectionate to the deer.
Yeah.
Of course, we want affection. We don't want to be overly affectionate. How could he show such uncontrollable affection for a deer? This is definitely due to some past karma. The king was so engrossed in petting and maintaining the deer that he fell down from his spiritual activities, and in due course, insurmountable death. Yep, it was right there anyway, which is compared to a venomous snake that enters the hole created by a mouse, situated itself before him. Yeesh.
Okay, that's a heavy metaphor right there. Or
That's a heavy
analogy,
metaphor. You know,
right?
a mouse digs a little hole, and then in comes the snake.
There's no escape.
There's no escape. He's got you.
And it's designed to just slide right into holes. Right?
I know. It's like they're made for holes.
Yeah, there's no keeping it out. If you're a mouse and that snake's coming, and that's terrifying. You know?
Yeah, that is.
And
sounds like you've been there before. Like you've been a mouse.
I may have been. I don't know, but that's what death can be like for the undisciplined. Right?
Oh my God, it's coming.
27.
27. At the time of death, the king saw that the deer was sitting by his side.
So I think the deer came back right as
oh my God, right when he was about to die.
Yeah.
Exactly like his own son, and was lamenting his death. The deer was lamenting. Actually, the mind of the king, ever see like a baby animal lamenting the death of the mother? It's very sad.
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
Actually, the mind of the king was absorbed in the body of the deer, and consequently, like those bereft of Krishna consciousness, he left this world. The deer and his material body, right? He left this world, the deer and his material body, and acquired the body of a deer, right? Yum yum bapi smaram bhavam. What you're meditating on at the time of death, to that you'll attain.
You're
right?
thinking like Prabhupada. He quotes it in the commentary.
However, there was one advantage. Although he lost his human body and received the body of a deer, check this out, he did not forget the incidents of his past life. He was not some ordinary deer just looking around for berries, grass. He was like a fully conscious, you never know.
I'm wondering how common is this?
I wonder too. Like, I'm wondering, was my dog a great sage compared to like the neighbors' dogs who were just like running around sniffing each other's butt? But my dog is like, no, no, no. We want the sniff the great souls. We
The
want to get
souls of
their
the
mercy.
feet of the great souls. But
Yeah.
I think it was like last in the fall, last year, that crocodile from the temple in Kerala passed away.
Oh yeah, the famous devotee crocodile.
And that
There's a lot of
crocodile
it. You'll hear these
all the
stories.
time, and even when it's not so famous, like even I wonder how common this is, that you're in an animal body, but you got that remembrance of how you
It,
got there.
it must suck. I'll tell you that.
Well,
Because it was like, what? This is it must be like, this is humiliating.
But you get the clear. You get the. Here's the advantage. Is it becomes unmistakable to you. Oh, right. I put myself in this circumstance.
Right.
I'm not going to make that mistake
What
again.
have I done?
I'm not going to make that mistake again. And so that's what happens here with Bart Marge. Is he's like, oh my God, I blew it. I was so close to becoming free, and now I'm in the body of a deer because I get it. Like in an instant, you wake up. Like I was. You remember
This I would like to see. This, Jiva G's been sending me and Mara all these like videos about children and their past lives, and it's usually kids who have died in a traumatic way. It's so like the kids are speaking like so matter of fact, like I was this person and I lived here and I've done this, and then somebody walked into my house and killed my parents, and then it's just like stuff you don't expect to hear coming out of the mouth of a 3-year-old. You know what I mean?
That's okay.
But and they speak in so matter of fact. It's like interesting meets like jarring meets like creepy. But I would like to meet a kid who goes, yeah. And then I was, worshiping the deity. And then I tripped and I banged my head and I fell unconscious and I left my body. And I would like to hear a kid like talk about their spiritual evolution from a previous life and what happened and how they're picking up. That would be cool.
It sounds like you want to get back into the past life regressions. You're going to be careful there.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Dig in, see where you were, see where I was. Maybe me and Mare were all friends.
It's possible, right?
Or maybe I was like the mean kid on the block and you were a really pious altar boy.
It could have been the other way. But from the commentary Chapu was sharing here, Prabhupada writes, it's proved herein that due to the grace of the Supreme Lord, a devotee is never vanquished. So even though he made a mistake, this deer body was actually good for him, right? So it says, due to his willful neglect of devotional service, these self-disciplines that he was engaged in, a devotee may be punished for a short time, but he again revives his devotional service and returns home back to God. So
what
this
is
was all meant for that.
Right. What is that punishment? It's just like, okay, not yet. You're not ready
yet. Another cycle.
Yeah. You're not ready yet. Now you're ready. It's like that. It's just like giving them a little bit more one more lesson.
One more lesson.
Take a body of a deer.
Okay, text 28.
Although in the body of a deer, Bart Maharaj, due to his rigid bhakti, his devotional service in his past life, could understand the cause of his birth in that body.
He knew.
He's like, now I'm walking around like a deer.
That crocodile knew, Raghunath.
Crocodile knew.
If you look up, what was his name was?
I can't remember.
Bubba something. But
I used to post about that crocodile.
Just Google temple crocodile India. And vegetarian crocodile, if you write that, because this crocodile would come, it would wander around in the temple. It
only eat glub jamuns, I think. Something like that.
It would only eat the temple prasad. It was a vegetarian crocodile, and it was like everyone was safe around it. Even the kids in the temple could hang out with this crocodile. It would walk right in there every day. They would feed it. It would walk out, go back into the lake.
It's like the story of that little girl that I knew. I used to go in the Calcutta temple. She used to there was like this little girl and her grandfather, thought it was her grandfather, big beard, looked like a sadhu, used to take her to see the deities every morning. She must have been like 5. And every day she'd go into the pujari room and she'd take the old garlands and put them around her and put lots of garlands. And then she'd walk out. And I thought, wow, this is so nice that this old man brings this little girl there. And they said, no. She's from a very wealthy family. That little girl, that's her servant. And she's been telling the servant that she wants to go have darshan of the deities every day since she's about like 3 years old at least. And every day she takes that old man to the temple so she could see the deities. And then she insists that she go into the pujari room and get the garlands and wear the garlands. And then she goes home, and that was her ritual. Where is this stuff coming from, these samskaras?
Raghunath, what you're saying is breaking my heart right now. Because
what's going on?
Talk to me.
Cry on me. Cry on me.
No, because there was someone I wanted to bring onto the show for some time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this little girl devotee that had multiple sclerosis. And from the moment that she could speak and everything, she was born with an incredibly deep attachment to my guru. Although she never met him because he had passed away before she was born.
Oh, yes.
And she just wrote a book. I think it's called something like, it uses this analogy like a candle that's burning on both ends burns twice as bright. I think it's called Twice as Bright is the title of the book, where she's just talking about her own devotional experiences. And she just, and I was thinking, because I got that book for some time, I was thinking we got to bring her on the show. I met her and her family some years back in India. And recently she came out with a book, and someone gave me that book when I was in India. And I was like, oh, I'm going to look at this book. I'm going to see what it's all about. And then I think we need to invite her on the show. And just like last week or the week before, she passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But she was something like that. It's like, where did she get this devotion from? It's coming out of nowhere. Like, why is she so attached to this one person? She was totally into my guru. She took initiation from Giriraj Swami, who's like my guru's best friend.
It's one of these things. It's like when I hear situations like that, strong attachment to Krishna, yet there's some like human issue they're dealing with, like that's like really intense.
Yeah.
I look at that as like, there's just some little karma to burn off.
That's everybody
like
got that with her.
Little karma to burn off.
It was like her parents were like, oh, you're a disciple to Tamal Krishna Goswami. Could you please come and talk to our daughter? Because she was just on this mission to hear about him. And where did it come from? It was just
Where's
like
that come from?
She had some kind of intense attraction to him, But maybe what we can do is since we didn't get her on, maybe I can read the book and we can talk about the book.
It's called Twice as Bright by Madan Mohan Mohini Dasi.
Madan Mohan Mohini Dasi.
Yeah. Okay, Mara, I think it's time. It's time for Mara to shed some light. You light up my life. You give me hope to carry on. Did you like that song?
Not particularly.
I did. It was one of those songs that it wasn't cool to like it, but I'd sing it quietly.
Was that who was that? Debbie Boone or
Debbie
Boone.
Debbie Boone, I think. You light up my
You see, now you went higher. You said when you go to that higher octave, it's like Judas Priest or something when you go up there.
It can't be wrong when it.
Would you guys like some takeaways?
Right.
Please, the sooner the better.
Better to pay now than pay later with compound interest.
Pay
right.
now.
We're gonna let her read them.
Discipline sets you free.
Discipline sets you free. No.
Consciously choose your mind's direction.
That's right. We can make the decision.
Guardrails and discipline are there for our own safety.
By the way, that song has changed.
Safe to dance. It's safe to dance.
It's a battle against the distractions. Hold your ground and gain more.
That's right.
Hold your ground.
Stand and deliver.
Stand and deliver. Oh, you value your life.
Krishna wants you to stay on his page.
Stay on Krishna's page.
That was a good one.
Keep chanting and it will get sweeter.
That's right.
By the way, if you do a lot of searches for hashtag Krishnas and stuff like that, that will come up on your explore page. All devotees will come up. Pictures of Krishna. Huh? The algorithms will work for you towards bhakti.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yes.
And
beware
your sniffer, Mara.
Beware. Misfits.
Beware of your sniffer, man.
Beware your sniffer, Mara. Mara. Ooh.
What are you saying now?
If you don't make me a part of
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, I see.
Oh, Bohemian Rhapsody. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Remember, Wisdom of the Sages retreat. Go to wisdomofthesages.com/events for the retreat at Super Soul Farm and the one in Italy. 200-hour Bhakti Yoga Vinyas teacher training with me, Cindy, and Bobby at Super Soul Farm. You can do that July 13th and 28th. That's on raghunath.yoga. Also, I'm going to India, and that's pretty filled. It's unbelievable how many signed up already for India in the autumn time. We're going to Varanasi, Udaipur, me and Kastuba's favorite place, Nathdwar, Rishikesh, Hardwar, and Vrindavan. It's a magical mystery tour. I had such a good time in India, Kastuba, this time, didn't you?
I did.
I had a really good time.
We got to set dates for next year. Gotta get on that.
Yeah, I've actually calendared it out, so let's talk about it.
Okay.
Let my people call your people. Then we get together. What do you say about that? Thanks, everybody, for joining us on Zoom. You, too, can join us on Zoom. Email Mara. Right, Mara? Everybody just email Mara today. Why not? Wisdom of the Sages 108.
Say some nice things to Mara. Remind her about her sniffer.
Remind her about her sniffer. Mara, watch your sniffer. Email Mara at Wisdom of the Sages. Okay, I got a little kid who's sick upstairs. I'm checking out. Let the magic continue to flow. Here's some Govardhan dust. Ow.